Alright, in Introductions Part 3, we're going to finish off all the rest of our introductory vocabulary, as well as give you some other phrases that you can use to help expand upon this conversation. So, we have the phrase, I'd like to introduce you to. We technically have two different versions of this phrase. Because we have that you, we're going to have a formal and an informal version. So, when you're talking to someone informally, you could say, Je te présente. Je te présente. Note that this E with the accent is called an accent aigu. It's very, very common. Do you hear the sound that it makes? Je te présente. It's a little bit hard to hear because of that French R, but the E accent aigu also makes the A sound, just like ES, just like EZ, EST, ET, and a few more that we'll learn later on. Je te présente. Note that in this case we are going to say our T at the end of présente. Because we have that final E, that's forcing us to pronounce the T. If the E was not there, it would be je te présente. But the E is, so it becomes je te présente. The formal version, which is far more common as this is kind of a formalized phrase anyway, is almost the same thing. All you're going to do is flip out the te for a vous. Je vous présente. Je vous présente. Note that the te flipped to the vous. That's the only difference. And of course, make sure that you finish off with someone's name. Je te présente Henri. If you want to say this is, it's like your friend is standing right next to you and you want to say, oh, this is Bob. In French, we're going to say, ça, c'est. Ça, c'est. Ça, c'est Henri. This is Henri. If you want to continue to talk about Henri and say, oh, Henri's my friend, since Henri is a dude, we're going to say, c'est un ami. C'est un ami. Ça, c'est Henri. C'est un ami. Note this un. It's a nasalized sound. Un. It's very important that you get this straight because when we say she's a friend, we're going to say c'est une amie. Yes, we do spell the word ami differently. We have an E on the end of the feminine version. That isn't there on the masculine. But the only difference we hear is that second word, un and une. Because ami and amie are pronounced the same. So if you say, ça c'est Henri, c'est une amie, well, then you just called Henri a girl. Vice versa, if you're talking about a girl and you want to say, ça c'est Marie, c'est un ami, well, then you just call Marie a guy. So make sure that you keep your nasal and your non-nasal sounds straight. C'est un ami, c'est une amie. If you want to say my friend, in order to make this flow a little bit more smoothly, this is my friend Henri, instead of having it be two separate sentences. You're going to use the phrase mon ami for a guy, or mon ami for a girl. The difference is a spelling difference, not a pronunciation difference. Ça, c'est mon ami Henri. Ça, c'est mon ami Marie. This is my friend Henri. This is my friend Marie. This is not a required phrase, but it does help this introduction sound a little bit more natural in my opinion. Ça, c'est mon ami Henri. Now we are going to reply because, of course, we are being polite and we want to say, pleased to meet you or nice to meet you. They mean the same thing. You don't have to freak out about whether or not a translation follows every single word precisely, as long as the right idea is there. So, to say pleased to meet you, we're going to differentiate based on to whom we are speaking. When we are talking to a guy, you're going to say something different than when you are talking to a girl. 15 should say talking to a girl. So when you're talking to a guy, we're going to say enchanté. Enchanté. Note that we begin with a nasal sound this time. Enchanté. And we have that E accent aigu at the end again. Remember, that makes an A sound. Enchanté. When we're talking to a girl, please ignore my typo in number 15. Talking to a girl, we're still going to pronounce enchanté, but now we spell it with a second E. Enchanté. So if we put the entire conversation together, we have you and Benoit hanging out again before French class, and here's Madame Fleer. So, what are you going to say? Je vous présente Benoit. C'est un ami. Alright, Madame Fleer, I'd like to present to you Benoit. He's a friend. You could have said, ça c'est Benoit, if you felt like it. Okay. Or, if we wanted to put together our sentences, we wanted to say, ça c'est mon ami Benoit, if you feel comfortable claiming Benoit as being your friend already. Then what do I have to say back to Benoit? I'm going to say, enchanté, Benoit. Pleased to meet you.